Hello, good morning, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bree. So today's video is going to be my bookshelf tour. I finally did my book haul, so now I feel like I can show you accurately what's on my shelves. So I'm just going to go shelf by shelf and kind of tell you what's on them. I like watching these kind of videos, and I think that they're fun to see like what people really enjoy, like which books they really enjoy and just what they have on the shelves. So I will be going through my shelves. I have 3 bookcases, and this is the first time in my life that I've had 3 bookshelves that are just mine. When I was growing up, I had places I would stash books, and we didn't really have like a bookcase anywhere. It was just kind of like you had them in your room, and I had little cubbies, but I didn't have like a full library. And then throughout college and my other years, I just never had a place to put a bookcase. So I've had like one bookcase, but I've never had like a setup, you know? I've had a bookcase, and then we shoved books in other places, and then I had 2 little, they're technically bookcases, but really what they're supposed to go on top of is like a hutch to be like the top portion, and I just found them at Goodwill and made them into bookcases, but it was like combined, it was like one bookcase total. So yeah, now I have my own like office setup and shelves, and I'm just so in love with it. I'm so happy with it, so I can't wait to show you what they look like in all my books. So this is my Pendergast shelf. So really it goes relic, then reliquary, then cabinet of curiosities, but I just got it out of order, so I'm gonna just show you all the titles. Cabinet of Curiosities. Hope you can see it from that far away. This will probably be the only shelf I have to do that. Cemetery Dance, Wheel of Darkness, Book of the Dead, Dance of Death, Brimstone, and then Relic, which is the first one. And I'm only missing Reliquary, which is the second book. And then Fever Dream, Cold Vengeance, Two Graves, Whitefire, Crimson Shore, Blue Labyrinth, The Obsidian Chamber, City of Endless Night, Verses for the Dead, Crooked River, and Bloodless. So I think, so there's like multiple books within the series that are like their own trilogy, and I believe it's these 3, Wheel of Darkness, Book of the Dead, and Dance of Death, that are their own trilogy, and that's like probably my favorite. So then we get into Old Bones. This is a like spin-off book of the series featuring a character from one of the books. And then I have Gideon's Sword, which is another series of theirs. And then there's The Lost Island and Beyond the Ice Limit, which is all part of the Gideon's Sword series that I want to start. I really hope this is okay. This being really balanced really precariously on a book tray I have, but let's hope. Okay, so I guess I'll start with the non-book stuff. So I have a candelabra type thing that I found at the thrift store. Then I have this. It says books I've read, and I just write down the book name and the year. And my friend got this for me from Italy, and I just love it. I haven't updated it in a little bit, but it's just fun for me to fill out. And then I just have a jar that I've had since like college. And then I have this little dish that says number 1, and I have a number 2 somewhere. And then this I found recently from stuff I had as a kid, and it's not really focusing, but it's looks like a little octopus in a thing. So I'm going to put that here for a second. Okay, so this is my Agatha Christie shelf, and these are all my Perraults. Then I have my Miss Marples, and then this just like standalones. So I'll start with my Perrault. They were kind of in order, but now they're not really. So got Death in the Clouds, The Clocks, 5 Little Pigs, Death on the Nile, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, After the Funeral, The ABC Murders, Cards on the Table, Murder on the Orient Express, and The Murderous Affairs at Styles. Then the Miss Marple series, I've got The Murder at the Vicarage, Miss Marple, The Complete Stories, Sleeping Murder, Miss Marple's Last Case, and At Bertram's Hotel, which is like my favorite cover. I love that orangey yellow. And then the standalones, and then There Were None, Towards Zero, The Last Seance, Tales of the Supernatural, The Monogram Murders, which is by Sophie Hannah. She's writing new like Agatha Christie stories. Murder is Easy, Crooked House, Why Didn't They Ask Evans, and Midwinter Murder. So that's my Agatha Christie shelf. I've read a decent amount of the Poirot, but I haven't read any Miss Marple, and I've read only And Then There Were None of the standalones. So now we have my Cozy Mystery, and then my classics, and this is the classics that I have, editions I'm collecting. And this is just a little thing I have had for a really long time. What do you call those? Oh, I don't remember at this moment. That probably wasn't the smartest idea since you're recording. Okay, so my Cozy Mysteries. This is all by Laura Childs. It's the Tea Shop Mystery series. So this is 3 books in one. Death by Darjeeling, Gunpowder Green, and Shades of Earl Grey. And I've read 2 out of 3 of those. Chamomile Morning. And we've got Sweet Tea Revenge, Agony of the Leaves, The Teaberry Strangler, Oolong Dead, Blood Orange Brewing, The Jasmine Moon Murder, and The English Breakfast Murder. I haven't read most of these because I've only read the first 2 in the series, but I've been seeing them for like just a couple bucks at Half Price Books, so I pick them up. And then these are all collected throughout my time at school. I am really happy to have these. I haven't read all of them, but I do still have a lot of my like tabs in my books from school. So, first one I have is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, The Portrait of a Lady by Henry James, Emma by Jane Austen, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, which I had to read in one semester. I had to read this book 3 times in the same semester for all different classes. So I got to know Wuthering Heights very well. Ivanhoe by Sir Walter Scott, Dubliners by James Joyce, Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. So these are all like the British versions, and I really like them. Now these are just the Penguin classics. And we've got Turn of the Screw by Henry James, The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck, The Portable Edgar Allan Poe, as you can see, The History of the Kings of Britain by Geoffrey of Monmouth. This is for, a lot of these are for medieval literature. Parzival by Wolfram von Eisenbach, Le Morte d'Arthur Volume 1 by Sir Thomas Malory, Le Morte d'Arthur Volume 2 by Sir Thomas Malory, The Mabinogion, which is unknown of the author, Arthurian Romances by Christian de Troyes. I don't know how to pronounce his name. We got The Conference of Birds by Farid Undin Attar, Testament of Youth by Vera Britton. Then this one is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, which I did not get in school. I just picked up recently. So this is more classics. And then I've got 2 of my library books, My Sister the Serial Killer and For Your Own Good. Then we've got The Once and Future King by T.H. White, La Chance de Roland by Gerard J. Brault, Joseph Campbell, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. This is a nonfiction, and it's about basically the hero's journey and how classic adventure stories, and even you can see it in fantasy books, follow this circle of a hero's arc and that they must complete before the journey can be resolved. And I found it so interesting, and it's really true. You can see like how a lot of these classic stories follow this hero's arc, these hero stories. The Essential Homer, Norse mythology, so not a classic, but I was kind of keeping my mythology stuff over here, by Neil Gaiman. Oh My Gods, a modern retelling of Greek and Roman myths by Philip Freeman. I really enjoyed this book when I read it. Edith Hamilton, mythology. I read this in school. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight by Simon Armitage. It's the translated version by Simon Armitage. This is a classic Arthur story, and it's very ridiculous. and it's written in verse. But it's a very ridiculous story, and I really enjoy it. The Romance of the Rose. This is translated by Frances Horgan. Celtic Myths and Legends by T.W. Rolleston. Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. This is volumes 1 through 4 of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Home by Toni Morrison. Beloved by Toni Morrison. The Complete Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is just volume 1. The Death of Ivan Ilyich and Other Stories by Tolstoy. Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. George Orwell, 1984. Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. This is my grandma's copy, and she actually wrote a whole note inside for me, and I just love it. I could never get rid of it. I still haven't read it, which I really need to, but just having this copy means so much to me. Watership Down by Richard Adams. East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Okay, we're gonna have kind of a weird angle so I can sit between the chair and here. We've got the rest of my classics and some here, and then into nonfiction, and then we've got some poetry, and then we've got graphic novels. We've got Candide by Voltaire. Middlemarch by George Eliot. This is Don Quixote de la Mancha by Cervantes. This is 3 different books by Edith Wharton, so it has The House of Mirth, The Custom of the Country, and The Age of Innocence. The Plague by Albert Camus. The Stranger by Albert Camus. Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote. Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. Dracula by Bram Stoker. Far from the Maddening Crowd by Thomas Hardy. So a lot of these I don't have a lot to say on them, so that's why I'm kind of just breezing through them, but once we get more into the fiction shelves, I will definitely have more to say. This is starting the nonfiction, and we've got Paper by Mark Kurlansky, The Devil in the White City, Murder, Magic, and Madness at the Fair That Changed America by Eric Larson. How to Read Literature Like a Professor, The Lively and Entertaining Guide to Reading Between the Lines by Thomas C. Foster. Reading Like a Writer, A Guide for People Who Love Books and for Those Who Want to Write Them by Francine Prose. The ABC for Book Collectors. This is kind of just a general book about collecting, but also has a lot of book definitions. And I had this when I had my letterpress class in college, and I learned how to use the letterpress. We also learned about book binding and bookmaking, and since I have a letterpress now, I don't really talk about it too much. I love to keep this from that class because it has helped me with just definitions and stuff, but also it reminds me of the class and how cool it is that I now get to have my own letterpress, because I never thought that was ever possible. And we've got A Dictionary of Made-Up Languages, and this by Stephen D. Rogers, and I just think this is the coolest book because you can actually learn a bit about speaking these fantasy languages. The Secret History of the World by Mark Booth. The Templars by Piers Paul Reed. Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. When Affirmative Action Was White, An Untold History of Racial Inequality in 20th Century America by Ira Katznelson. White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. Politics of Injustice, Crime and Punishment in America by Catherine Beckett and Theodore Sasson. March, Book 1 by John Lewis. I've read all 3, but I only have the first one. I've got Mao by Art Spiegelman and the second Mao. And this is My Father Bleeds History and Here My Troubles Began. And if you have not read these, you will definitely cry, but it is so worth it. No Matter the Wreckage, poems by Sarah Kay. Hum by Jamal May. Gentleman Practice by Buddy Wakefield. And For a Living by Buddy Wakefield. I've got The Essential Neruda, selected poems, but this is cool because on one side it's in Spanish and on the other it's in English, so I can kind of practice my Spanish and also just to try to understand things because they don't always translate perfectly. I think that's so cool. Literary Wonderlands, A Journey Through the Greatest Fictional Worlds Ever Created. And I read this and I thought it was really interesting. And then this is the literature book. I only keep it for one reason, and that is because I pressed flowers, which I didn't know what I was doing, so they didn't turn out the best. But I pressed flowers for Noah. At his grandpa's funeral, we took some flowers home and I pressed it for him. So we still haven't figured out what to do with it because I don't want to ruin it. I accidentally ruined the book because I, again, didn't know what I was doing, but I have to keep that until we figure out what we're going to do. Then this, my graphic novels. Lore Olympus, Volume 1 by Rachel Smythe. Marvel, Nick Fury, Volume 1. I think I just had this at home for a really long time and I don't know if I'll ever read it. And then got Watchmen, and also one that I've had for a really long time, but I don't know if I'll read. This is Race to Incarcerate by Sabrina Jones and Mark Maurer, and this, I think, is a really great way to learn about our justice system, and I think it's just really obtainable for a lot of people because of, like, it's easy to read, and the pictures, I just think, add so much. So if you haven't, I would really encourage you to read this. Trying to get my knees out of here, sorry that you see that. So this is it's nonfiction, but except for this book, all of these are in the, like, food, culture, but also environmental, because that's my favorite nonfiction reads is environmental books, and I'm always looking and collecting more. I got almost all of these at Half Price Books and online. They're really important to me, and I definitely want to read more and branch out a little bit more. So I'm going to start with the one that's not environmental and just show you Inside the Criminal Mind by Stanton E. Samenow. And I found this really interesting when I read it. I read it in high school, I believe, or early college, and it was very, very interesting. Draw Down, the most comprehensive plan ever proposed to reverse global warming, edited by Paul Hawken. So this has literally scientists from all over who came to create this book. Got the Transition Handbook from Oil Dependency to Local Resilience by Rob Hopkins. I also have a lot of books I've read, but I just don't have copies of them. So this is not my entire list of recommendations if you're looking for environmental books. This was the very first book that I actually read that got me into all this, which was Zero Waste Home by Bea Johnson, and I now realize that there's a lot in this that is not obtainable for everyone, and it leaves out a lot of different people that are affected in different ways, and so I wouldn't, like, suggest it as, like, a great environmental book, but it did give me some good tips, and there's, like, you know, different, like, ways to make different household cleaners and stuff. Yeah, this was just, like, my first book, and there are so many others I would suggest over this one. And this kind of goes for this one, Life Without Plastic. This is the second book I picked up, which just talks a lot about plastic and, like, how it can be dangerous. Again, there's other books I would recommend because this kind of feels like a one-size-fits-all. Anyone can do this, when in reality, that's not the case. This one is my favorite book of 2021, and I'm going to reread it over and over and over again, and that's Breeding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kemmerer, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants. So beautifully written, so thoughtful, and, like, you just learned so much from her. I would highly recommend this book. Pharmacology, Total Health from the Ground Up by Daphne Miller. For Fish, The Future of the Last Wild Food by Paul Greenberg. This is about overfishing in the U.S. and the world and how we're destroying the last, like, salmon runs and things like that, and it's really hard to read about those things. But then we've got Animal Vegetable Miracle, A Year of Food Life by Barbara Kingsolver. So this is about her journey to only grow and eat, like, only eat what she grows, and I just found it really interesting. It got me into thinking about growing my own food. The Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan, A Natural History of 4 Meals. This one scared the living crap out of me. This Changes Everything, Capitalism versus the Climate by Naomi Klein. This is very much a book that gave me so much anxiety because it's kind of like a doom and gloom book. I think she makes a lot of really good points, but if this is your first foray into environmental topics, I don't know if I would suggest going with this one because I got what a lot of people term eco-anxiety, and I think that kind of held me back from making some changes. I think it's a great book. It's just a scary book to read. American Catch by Paul Greenberg, The Fight for Our Local Seafoods. I thought this wasn't as well done as For Fish. Then we've got The End of Food by Paul Roberts, Fast Food Nation by Eric Schlosser, Cooked by Michael Pollan. He is the one who wrote The Omnivore's Dilemma, In Defense of Food and Eater's Manifesto. This one he has a documentary on, and I would recommend watching that because I think a lot of it is covered in the documentary is covered in this book. I kind of liked the documentary more. The Beginning Naturalists, The Dirty Life, A Memoir of Farming, Food, and Love by Kristen Campbell. This one's On Fire, The Burning Case for a Green New Deal by Naomi Klein. I have yet to read this because her other one scared the crap out of me, and I'm not ready for that scaries again. Lab Girl by Hope Jarens. Then, if you've heard of the environmental movement, you probably heard of Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. I've got The Shock Doctrine, The Rise of Disaster Capitalism by Naomi Klein. The Nature Fix, Why Nature Makes Us Happier, Healthier, More Creative. Falter, Has the Human Game Begun to Play Itself Out by Bill McKibben. Pressure Cooker, Why Home Cooking Won't Solve Our Problems and What We Can Do About It. This one is again one I saw at the store and I thought it sounded interesting. Then we've got less environmental, just more in general. It's Salt, a World History by Mark Kurlansky. He wrote Cod, which I really want to read. We've got The History of the World in 6 Glasses by Tom Standage. This one's one I'm excited to eat. It's called What She Read. It's called What She Ate by Laura Shapiro. Then we've got The Soil Will Save Us, How Scientists, Farmers, and Foodies Are Healing the Soil to Save the Planet by Kristen Olsen. Then this one was just one I picked up a while ago. It's about a history of natural resource management. I thought I kind of wanted to go into that for a while, and I've since changed my mind, but I had got this book to read more about it. And then I've got Overdressed, The Shockingly High Cost of Cheap Fashion by Elizabeth L. Klein. So yeah, I have a lot, and I have a lot that I've picked up from the library that I haven't read, but I'm happy with this collection. I would like to get more, like I want to read more environmental justice and things like that, but I have yet to. I really like reading about food and its impact, so that's where a lot of these come in. Okay, so now I'm on the next bookshelf and I'm going to start from the bottom. This is just an empty case, and then I've got these, like, you know what, scrapbooks, but it's for my different letterpress stuff. I've been trying to fill it up. I haven't filled it up too much. So then I also have a tarot card. I've got The Hunt for Red October by Tom Clancy. We the Drowned by Carson Jensen. I've had this for so long, like literal years. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to it, but I love the cover and I love the concept so much, but I just never want to read it. So probably will end up unhauling at some point, but I'm not ready to. The Ex-Hex by Aaron Sterling. The Spy Who Came In From the Cold by John Le Carre. Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield. The Binding by Bridget Collins. With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Graudin. Simmer Down by Sarah Smith. A True Novel by Minae Mizumura, which is a retelling of Wuthering Heights, but it's a Japanese author. So now we're on my YA fantasy shelf. So I'll start over here. So this is my Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, that series. A Torch Against the Night. A Reaper at the Gates. And A Sky Beyond the Storm. Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. Crown of Feathers by Nikki Powell-Pareto. The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. The Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahiran. Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahiran. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. House of Earth and Blood, Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. Kingdom of Ashes by Sarah J. Maas. Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. On to the next shelf, we've got Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. And Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I've read all of the Throne of Glass series. We've got another series, so we've got A Curse So Dark and Lonely and A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kemmerer. I don't know if I'll finish this or if I'll finish Serpent and Dove. Kind of want to just to like have the trilogy completed, but I don't know if I'm really into them anymore. Then we've got Red Nation and Deathless Divide by Justina Ireland. And I really like Neil Gaiman, so I have 3 of his books. I have another in adult, but these are young adult. The Graveyard Book, Fragile Things, and Stardust. Got We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faizal and We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. A Winter's Promise by Christie L. Dabos. Then just kind of a random assortment. City of Lost Souls, City of Fallen Angels, City of Heavenly Fire, and then Clockwork Angel. I haven't read Clockwork Angel. Back in high school, I was in love with the series, and I don't know where the rest of my copies went, but I kind of want to read them again and see how they hold up to me, because I know everyone loves the rest of the series and I never continued on after that. And then I have A Psalm for the Wild Build, a Monk and Robot book by Becky Chambers. I feel like this maybe should be under adult, but I'm not sure. Okay, so now we're on my adult shelves, which you can't really see too much behind here, but I've got the 10th anniversary edition of Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. It's signed. Noah loved Name of the Wind when we first started dating, so he has that. And then this is The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear. Then we've got The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson, and Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. I should say this is my adult fantasy shelf with a little YA at the end. This series is like one of my favorite too. It's definitely my favorite adult fantasy series. I think Brandon Sanderson just writes such good books, and Noah loves this as well, and it's just been cool that we can read it together. Then for some reason we only have The Final Empire, Mistborn, the first one, and we don't have the other two. So eventually we'll have to collect it because I do really like Mistborn as well. A Darker Shade of Magic, A Gathering of Shadows, and A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. I really enjoyed this series when I read it. This was like the first fantasy series I had read post-college, and it really got me back into reading. The Crystal Cave by Mary Stewart, which is a Arthurian retelling. Children of Blood and Bone by Tony Aniyami. Then we've got A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. Okay, again, I hope this is okay. I'm on a tripod with it on a table thing, so it's not the most secure. This is Sprig, by the way. He's not doing the best. I need to repot him, but I guess you're not supposed to repot things in the winter because they go dormant. So I don't want to kill him because I've had him since I graduated college. So he's really special to me. So I have this. This is the number 2 tray. I just keep it here. We've got, I'll start this way. Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. Leviathan Wakes by S.A. Corey. Okay, I'm not going to pull the rest of these out because it's just too difficult, but I have Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. Then I have Discovery of Witches, Shadow of Night, and The Book of Life by Deborah Harkness. American Gods by Neil Gaiman. The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Haro. Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman. 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. We've got The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, another favorite of 2021. Then I don't have it on my shelf right now because I'm still telling myself I'm reading it, even though I haven't picked it up in like 2 weeks, is Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. And then this is the second, The Great Hunt. And then we've got Fond du Lis, Jade City, which I'm really excited to read. So now we're at the top of my mystery, thriller, horror, then into middle grade. This is YA. Oh, I should say, I have this little candle that I've just had forever. It's like a lavender vanilla. It smells so good. And then I have this rock that I've had for years, but no, accidentally broke off the top. And so I just have the little bottom, and then I have the top somewhere else. And then this is a little thing my coworker's daughter had made me. It's a little clay thing, because I got her a book called Quick Solve Whodunit because she really liked to read, and it was one of my favorites growing up. If anyone tells me their kid likes to read, I'm like, I'm buying them books because I have to foster that. So she made me this little cute little clay thing, and it's just so cute. And then I have a pin from work when I was working there. This is Ace of Spades by Farida Abike-Yemide. Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Booley. Again, one of my top books of the year. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. The Project by Courtney Summers. So now on to adult mystery thriller. Then I have horror separated. So this is Dead Dead Girls by Nakisa Afia. I have a recent reading blog that is up about this, so you can watch that if you want. The 22 Murders of Madison May. This is technically science fiction, but I put it in this because it's got a lot of a mystery element to it. In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. It's one of the most disturbing, like, true crime books I've read. Razor Blade Tears by S.A. Cosby. Probably another one of my favorite books of the year so far. I mean, we're only in February, so, like, to really say that, but loved this book. Then I have Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby. Really excited to get to it. Finley Donovan is Killing It by El Casamano. Again, one I'm really excited to get to. The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. Mistress in the Art of Death by Ariana Franklin. The Serpent's Tale is the second, and I want to continue the series. In the Woods by Tana French. The Bone Garden by Tess Juriston. The Word is Murder by Anthony Horowitz. Then the second book is The Sentence is Death. The House of Silk. This is a Sherlock Holmes retelling, and this is the second to that. Didn't think it was as good as the first. Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. And one is controversial, The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. Don't know if I'm going to love it or hate it. Okay, so then I have this plant here. I have a hard time with plants because the cats get into all of them, and these ones are poisonous. So I have like nowhere to put them where they get really good light. So I'm still trying to figure that out. This is all mystery, thriller, and then from here on is horror. Such a Quiet Place by Megan Miranda. The Perfect Stranger by Megan Miranda. All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. This one I read in November and really liked it, which is why I picked up the rest of them. All Her Little Secrets by Wanda M. Morris. I'm going to read this for the Literally Dead Book Club by Kayla from Books and Lala. This is March's pick. If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I'm missing the first book, but I have the next four. So we've got A Conspiracy in Belgravia, Hollow of Fear, Art of That, and Murder on Cold Street. These ones I'm actually debating getting rid of. So Some Danger Involved, Limehouse Text, and Hellfire Conspiracy. There's a lot that I don't like that he does in these about representing people of color. The more I think about it, the more I just really don't want to continue. The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. I loved this book. The Lion Game by Ruth Ware. In a Dark Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. I've yet to read either Ruth Ware, but I'm excited to give her a try. In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. Another one that is probably one of my new favorites of the year. Even though I only read it in January, I loved this book so much. I have a reading blog if you want to hear my full thought. Now into horror, we've got The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. We've got The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. Really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really fun and well done. Sorry if it looks a little different. My battery died, so I had to change it out. My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I'm really excited to try this one. The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. I am so excited to read this. This is like one of my most anticipated books of the year. Salem's Lot was actually the first horror I've ever read. I read this like 2 years ago now, and I really liked it. I just didn't get back into horror for some reason, but I really enjoyed this. Okay, so finishing out the horror, have 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I think this reads more science fiction than horror, but I want all my Stephen King together. Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. The Shining by Stephen King. The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. If you really like Dracula, I think this was a really good book. Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I'm excited to give this one a try. And then Dracula by Dacker Stoker and J.D. Barker. I've got a little candle from Target. You've probably seen it. It's the Cardamom and Vetiver. I love this scent, and then I love the like candle part, so I just refill it when I'm done. And I have another one somewhere in my house because I love the candle look so much. And then this I've just had for a really long time. It's a tea light, technically, like you put a tea light in here, but I use it to keep my bookmarks that I've made. If you don't know, I make letterpress stuff, and one of them is bookmark. It's not really focusing. Let's see if I can. Books may well be the only true magic by Alice Hoffman, and these were some that got a little messed up, so I just use them for myself because you can see when you print, if you don't have the line perfectly, it misses. But yeah, so I keep my bookmarks in here and I'll use them to read. I will say these are also on my website if you are interested in buying them. They're $5. Okay, so then we've got The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is my middle grade shelf. School of Good and Evil by Saman Chiani. Wildwood by Colin Malloy, and Wildwood Imperium. This is the third one. I love these covers and I found them at Goodwill. Winter House by Ben Gutterson and The Secrets of Winter House. This is 1 and this is 2. I really enjoyed this. It's like a hotel mystery. Opie's Ghost by Justine Ireland. Really liked this. It was really cute and really interesting to read about. I wish it was a series. Sorry, you can see my knee. So this is my last shelf. I am supposed to have a shelf right here, and it's actually under this, but it has to be redone because it was chewed by my sister's dog. I need to like sand and redo it, but then also I don't have the pegs. So technically I could have a whole nother shelf. I just been lazy. We've got one of my favorite middle grades. I keep rereading it, which is Howell's Moving Castle by Diane Wynne-Jones. I have a Borders sticker on this, circa, oh, does it say the date? It doesn't, but Borders went out in 2011, so shout out if anyone shopped at Borders. Leave a comment down below because nostalgic. These are my Nancy Drew collection. My mom used to read Nancy Drew growing up, and then she had a collection and I read them growing up, so they're very nostalgic for me. But I've got just a random, so this is number 39, The Clue of the Dancing Puppet. Then I have 1 through 9, The Sign of the Twisted Candles, Nancy's Mysterious Letter, The Clue in the Diary, The Secret of Redgate Farm, The Secret of Shadow Ranch, The Mystery at Lilac Inn, The Bungalow Mystery, The Hidden Staircase, and The Secret of the Old Clock. And then we've got a box set that has never been opened that I found at Half Price Books of Winnie the Pooh. And it's got Winnie the Pooh, The House at Pooh Corner, When We Were Young and Now We Are 6. And I love Winnie the Pooh. I grew up reading and watching Winnie the Pooh, and I have a Winnie the Pooh, so this is just like really important for me, and I think I'll end up getting another copies for when we have kids, because we have a little baby box that I keep books in, because I don't think I ever want to open this. I just want to leave it just like that. So then we have The Mystery at Black Hollow Lane and The Secret of Whitestone Gate by Julia Noble, Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery, Anne of Avonlea by Ellen Montgomery, The Raconteurs Commonplace, and The Thief Knot by Kate Milford, 3 and 4 in the Green Glass House series. Then we've got Terry Pratchett's The We Free Men and A Hatful of Sky. This is part of Tiffany Aching series. I really enjoy it. I'm excited to read more Terry Pratchett. And this actually I think is going to go in the baby box, but I was thinking about reading it recently, and that's The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood, because I did a class all on Robin Hood and I was interested to see how they changed the children's version. The Secret of Nightingale Wood by Lucy Strange. Really creepy, like middle grade horror, and I really enjoyed it. The Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Lee Stewart. And we've got Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow. I am going to be reading this with my friend. I'm really excited. I think we're going to buddy read it in March. We've got The Troubled Girls of Dragomir Academy by Anne Ursu. The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making, and The Girl Who Soared Over Fairyland and Cut the Moon in Two by Catherine M. Valente. Then I've got a vintage library puzzle that I got for Christmas, and I'm excited to do that one day. I like puzzles, but fun fact about me is once I start a puzzle, I can never stop, so I have to be selective. Then these are, I'm so excited about these. These are middle grade graphic novels. So we've got The Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill. Then we've got Seance Tea Party by Ramina Yee. And then I'm so happy to be ending it on this one. We've got Garlic and the Vampire by Bree Paulson. Just still so excited to read this one. It's just so cute. And I think I'm going to have to pick it up soon because I just can't wait. I've just been having so many other books I want to read, but like, I have to read it. So there you have it. That is my bookshelf tour. I'm really hoping that editing Bree has a okay time, because I'm pretty sure I just recorded for like 2 hours straight, so I'm really hoping this isn't a really long video, but if it is, I'm sorry. So yeah, I am just so happy that I did this, and I'm really happy with how my shelves look, and I just like couldn't be more grateful that I am able to have this, and that Noah is okay with being shoved upstairs in a room that's not the most complete, so I can have an office. I really appreciate that. Thanks, Noah, if you're watching. Those are my books. I'd love to know if you've read any of them, or like what your favorites are. If you want to leave a comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. But yeah, that's my bookshelf tour.